Okay, I'll say this one last time. The next game is going to reveal quite a lot about West Ham United. It's not to really tell us anything that we don't know, but merely to rubber stamp or to validate what we suspect to be the case, which is we are a consistent team, we're an horrible team to play against, and we have a style and a method. Certainly not in keeping with the West Ham style, certainly not in keeping with the West Ham method. It certainly is a lot more reminiscent of Tony Pulis and Stoke than it is about West Ham. But I'm not going to sit here and argue that the football is beautiful. In fact, it was only last week I did a video suggesting we were in an ugly, and there were a couple of replies on there from people saying, actually, I quite enjoy the football. Well, enjoying the football and finding it aesthetically pleasing are two very, very different things. A lot of it is not pretty on the eye, but you can enjoy the fact that we are resolute defensively. You can enjoy the fact that we will go into a game looking unlikely to concede, and looking like even if we do concede, we are not going to concede a hatful of goals. I said in the preview yesterday, in the build-up an hour before kickoff, the teams came out. I said, yeah, we're just not going to let in 2 or 3 goals. It's just not going to happen. We're not getting thumped by these teams. And to state the bleeding obvious, if you're in a position where you're not going to concede a couple of goals, then you really don't have to score that many to win a game. And we are capable of scoring. And I did a video probably going into the Man City game, maybe after. I was discussing how many shots on target we were having per game and shots off target, how many attacks. And there were a couple of games where we were having 15 to 20 attacks, and that's an awful lot, and certainly we look like scoring then. What I would also say is we also look like scoring when we don't have many attacks, and yesterday's game was one of those. I'm really pleased that Moyes came out and said that he didn't think we played well, because we didn't. I'm sick of hearing managers over the years telling you that water isn't wet and what you've seen is wonderful, when actually it's been completely turgid. He said he liked the first 5 minutes of the first half and he liked the first 5 minutes of the second half. He said the rest of it wasn't good enough. And I do think that when Moyes takes a look at his team, that's why I think there will be changes. I think there will be, I don't mean to the team for the next game, I just do feel that there are 4 or 5 of that lineup who probably don't feature in David Moyes' plans at all. There are 4 or 5 of that lineup who probably don't think that he probably doesn't think are capable of taking the club where they want to go. I said something to Gio last night in our Patreon video, which was I do always believe that the coaches and the management know what they're doing. If you're looking at a game and you're thinking to yourself, well, it's taken us quite a long time to spring a counter-attack because we don't have any quick players, don't ever assume that you're the only one that's noticed it. These people like Kevin Nolan, like Alan Irvine, David Moyes himself, Stuart Pearce, they're going to know this. When they sit around and have their meeting, they're going to say we need to get another quicker player into the attack, which is why I believe that Mikel Antonio was sort of put in there prematurely. Let's say it that. Let's put it that way. Certainly, when he wasn't ready. But we'll discuss that a little bit later on in the week. Anyway. In terms of West Ham and in terms of our consistency, in terms of how we're playing, again, they're two separate things. How we're playing and our consistency are very much separated. But I think the coaching staff will look at that and they will think, well, hold on a second, because we can do things to implement some flow. We can do things to implement a little bit of magic into our attack. But it ain't always going to work. What they can do, what the certainties are if you are well drilled, can you defend and can you not score goals? And that's clearly what we're doing. And I just think it's particularly nice to have a breather for a season where we're not actually actively worried about getting relegated. And we're just not. We've won our last 3 games in a row. I don't know what the stats are on that, but that ain't too West Ham-like. Look, Gio said he felt we got lucky in each game. I would agree with him. But I do think you earn your own luck. I really do. And I think the luck only comes when you work hard. I think it was Gary Player, the golfer, who said, somebody said he was lucky. He said, yeah, it's funny that the harder I work, the luckier I get. And there's a lot of truth in that. It's one of the great sayings, I think. And we do work extremely hard. I think Villa will be looking at what happened yesterday and wondering what on earth happened. And listening to Dean Smith's comments, I think he's still at a loss as to what happened, and I don't think he's going to be any further along the line than resolving it. Look, I know we've got a couple of Aston Villa fans that watch this channel, and I do apologise. I apologise not for my comments last night because I stand by them. I'm going to say more of them now, but I don't. I appreciate you watching the channel, and I don't particularly mean to dig out the city of Birmingham or anything like it. I just think that with this group of players, there are some really talented ones in there. I'm not sure how much advantage is gained by some of the play acting for Aston Villa. It wasn't as if, let's be fair, that there was a dive that resulted in a free kick which led to a goal or anything like that. The penalty wasn't because of I felt the penalty was a bit of a dive, but he did throw himself to the ground there, but Declan Rice did grab his shirt. By the letter of the law, it was a penalty. The offside goal, was just offside by the letter of the law. They'll be looking at it thinking small margins cost us that game. I would disagree. I don't think that's what cost them the game. I thought what cost them the game was the inability to battle and fight in that. And I looked at Ollie Watkins. There was a point where Ollie Watkins did a dive in that game, and we looked at Ollie Watkins quite a lot because West Ham were obviously rumoured to be interested in him and signing him. And we watched quite a few of these players because, of course, we were interested in Ben Rama, we were interested in left back, we were interested in Ollie Watkins, and we watched quite a lot of Brentford. And it didn't seem to be something that was particularly in his game, to throwing himself to the floor. And when you look at what Trezeguet was doing, what you were looking at what Luiz was doing, certainly what Grealish was doing, El Mohammadi as well took a little tumble as well, didn't he, when he came on. When you look at it and you see Ollie Watkins doing it, you think, well, this is obviously something that is worked on. This is because it wasn't part of his game before. And if so many of them are throwing themselves to the ground, and you think it is under instruction from the manager. So for the manager then to not realise what they're doing, I would imagine it's trained. I would imagine it's practiced. For him not to realise where the game went wrong, which is in the last 5-10 minutes, when Aston Villa were well on top, it was the time to roll up your sleeves to battle. It was not the time to throw yourself to the floor. And I think it's really, really difficult for a team like that if what you practice and train is simulation, to then turn around and say, okay, I want you to stop that, fellas. Now it's time for grit. Now it's time for drive. Now it's time for determination. Now it's time for battle. Because at that point, it's lost because a team like West Ham, and don't get me wrong, I think we are quite adept at the darker arts of it. I think we foul, which, again, people may construe fouling as cheating. Granted, but it's very much, we don't apologise for it. We literally just hack people down as part of the game. And it's far easier when you're in that mindset to carry on and battle than it is if you're throwing yourself around and being... Look, let's be fair. Trezeguet, when he went over, there was not enough force in the shirt tug to make him fall over. So what he did, he felt the pull of the shirt, and actually, again, it was a delayed fall over. He waited until another couple of steps, then he fell over. Now, he gets his comeuppance from that because he got hit by a stud in the face, right? And he's ended up going off with stitches. Jack Grealish, when he was caught, he then took another couple of steps and he threw himself up in the air. And he acted, and here is the point, Jack Grealish acted as if, this is where the dishonesty comes in, it wasn't as if he felt a clip and he carried on running, he reacted when it happened. He waited, he thought about it, he jumped up in the air, then, and here's the point, he pretended to be injured. He pretended not only that the kick or the swipe had made him fall over, he made out that actually it had injured and caused some serious injury to his leg. And that's where the dishonesty comes in. And I just believe, as I said in the review, that it's very, very hard to switch from that mindset to one of winning. And I think because of that, Aston Villa are inconsistent, and they will remain inconsistent. But they're not the only inconsistent team in the Premier League, and this is where it feeds back into what West Ham are doing and what David Moyes are doing. Because you look at it now, you would say Southampton are one of the more consistent teams in the league, and the results and the current form would basically prove you right in that summary. 3 wins in the last, so form is the last 5 games, at least on the Premier League official website. It is 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat for Southampton. It's the same for West Ham, which puts us up there. And it's only the teams directly above, which is Chelsea, Liverpool, and Tottenham, who don't have a defeat. Leicester, who are 1 point above us and 1 place above us, which is a miracle. It's a miracle, I think, to find that we're a point behind Leicester. They've lost their last 2 games. It's inconsistency. West Ham is consistency. I know we got the 1 loss in there, but before that, we had a really good draw, didn't we? We had a really good draw against Man City. Before that, we had 2 really good wins. If you look at the form, ours isn't as up and down as anyone else. When we lose, we don't lose heavily. Not at all. I thought, and this is Aston Villa are going to have to suck this up because they'll feel they didn't deserve to lose that game. Well, you know what? Is something for you. We didn't deserve to lose against Arsenal. It was 2 little individual errors that cost us that game. We were better than Arsenal, and I thought we deserved to beat them. And it's not me having the claret and blue tinted spectacles on. We had more attacks, more shots on goal than Arsenal. They did well to come out of that. Granted, I think Newcastle deserved to beat us and beat us well. We were truly awful. But even Liverpool had to work very, very hard to beat us, and they weren't an awful lot better than us. Going back to the consistency, you then look at teams we're above now. Wolves are very inconsistent. Draw, win, loss, draw, win. Everton have lost 4 of their last 5 games. Now, if you looked at the league table, forget the league table, if you looked at the form and you looked at everybody's results after the first 3-4 games of the season, Everton were a blueprint, right? Everyone was saying, well, look, they've bought well. James Rodriguez, James Rodgers, as we like to call him. He'd started really, really well. They had a bloke called Alan in midfield, and they brought in Carlo Ancelotti, and it looked like people were saying they had the blueprint. This was the way to go. Well, look at them now. They're incredibly inconsistent. And whilst this is going on, West Ham are plodding along, being consistent, being nasty, being gritty, being organised, taking corners, winning headers, being very Stoke-like or very Moyes at Everton-like, and carrying on with absolute predictability. And West Ham had never been predictable. And actually, just on that point about Moyes at Everton, Moyes was quite dogged and determined in his first. When he first took over, Everton were in trouble when he first took over at Everton, and he brought in players and he called them the Dogs of War. And after that, he started to develop other players like Pina and Mikel Arteta and Morales, Kevin Morales, and players like that. But first of all, we got them playing steady. Now, make no mistake about it, West Ham already have better players at their club, at our club right now, than David Moyes had when he took over at Everton. That's clear. There's no doubt about that. So I do feel he's a little bit further along the journey at Everton. So I don't think he's going to need to take 10 years to get us into Everton's position, which was regularly qualifying for the Champions League. I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not on here saying we're going to qualify for the Champions League. We won't and we can't, and it just ain't possible at present. I'm not even entirely sure there's any point dreaming for the future and all that. I don't know if there'll be a European breakaway. We don't know what's going to happen in football. All we can do is really enjoy the moment with West Ham and just football in general if you're a football fan. The next game, as I said at the start of the video, Manchester United, I mean, that is going to be really, really interesting. They've got a little bit of form. They've won their last 3 games. Before that, it was a loss. Before that, it was a draw. Obviously, this is only Premier League form with those teams near the top. They're also playing in Europe as well. So it's slightly different for them. What United do have form for, and this is really the point why I think it's the final acid test for us, is Manchester United have won their last 8 away games. Manchester United play better away from home. I think there's a lot of reasons for that, and we'll go into it in the preview. I think the manager plays a large part in doing that, because I think possibly, in fact, a lot like West Ham, I think the manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't necessarily want to play the football that Manchester United were made famous for under Sir Alex Ferguson, which was attacking fast football with wide players and fast wingers, and that's just and two players up top. That's not how Ole Solskjaer wants to play. So that's going to be really interesting, and I do think it will tell us an awful lot about ourselves, because I think if we get to that point, and if we were to get a draw from that game, for instance, I think you could then look and say, okay, we're here to stay. We then have a body of evidence to suggest, right, this is decent. There's an old saying, which is, there's 2 really. Never look at the league before Christmas, or never look at the league before 10 games. And that's right, because you'll always get someone up there. I've just given the example of Everton. But after 10 games, you've got enough of a barometer and a cross-section of league to think, okay. And that would be the case with us. But I will leave you with this for his final thought on that, because The reason that is a good cross-section is it suggests that after 10 games, you've played over a quarter of the league, and you've played a bit of everything. You've played a bit of everyone. You've played some top teams, you've played some bottom teams, you've played some middle teams. I don't think that's the case with West Ham. I think we're looking a little bit healthier than even we might allow ourselves to believe. Because normally after the first 10 games, you have not played as many good teams as we have played. We all looked at the start to play Arsenal, who are, I know, look there, I'm looking at the league now, I can't even see them. Where are they? Blimey. Okay, yeah, I mean, they're down in 14th place. We know they won't stay there. Arsenal are a good team. We beat Wolves, we know Wolves are a good team. We know Leicester are a good team. We played Manchester City, we have played Liverpool. Over half our games have been against really, really good teams. We played some teams near the bottom, but I do think Fulham's most recent results have probably shown that actually, because they've had 2 wins in their last 5, they've probably shown that they weren't as bad as everyone was making out. It appears Sheffield United probably are, but we certainly know that Aston Villa are a good team. However, I talk about inconsistency. They have won 1 game in their last 5, which ain't good enough. But while all that's happening, West Ham plod along. Do I think after 10 games of cross-section we're looking at it thinking we can finish 5th? No, we can't. We can't and we won't finish 5th. We are an injury or 2 away from having to rearrange quite a lot of what we do. That being said, when you're not reliant on individual performances, when you're reliant on a team and a team ethic, you can take individual component parts out of that. We're not relying, this is not like under Slaven Bilic, it's not like us relying on Dimitri Payet to score a free kick or something like that. Actually, the team is just grinding and the team are making things happen. And we have an awful lot of people within our team who can score goals. Maybe we don't have one runaway player, like some teams do. We haven't got one runaway player who scored 10 goals or anything like that this season, or 8 goals or anything like that. No, maybe not. But come the end of the season, we may find that we have an awful lot of players who have scored 5 or 6 goals. And that sort of tallies up, and that plays into our system. Will we finish top 5? No. But I do think what we are doing now is comfortably becoming a top half team, and that is massive progress. Yeah.